The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. This is Dennis Kaye coming to you live today. This is Belize Islands Real Estate. It is October 30th, 2018, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Miami time. I'd just like to welcome all of you who are in attendance today, and thank you very much for showing up on time and being ready to participate. This is a live event, and before we get going, I'd just like to welcome each and every one of you and ask you a favor. If you would, let me know if you see the opening slide on your screen, which shows my picture standing on a beach, and if you can hear my voice okay, just so I can make sure the equipment is working. So if you could, type in yes in the question box if you see my opening slide and hear my voice okay, and there's no strange echoes or weird noises or anything going on, just so I can make sure that you see everything. Excellent. Thank you. I appreciate that. So it looks like everything is working well. Very good. Well, it is 1 o'clock on the dot, so let's just give everybody about 30 to 60 seconds to get settled in. Sometimes people log on to these webinars, they have to reboot their computer or something goes on with the GoToWebinar platform, so I don't want to start too early, just to make sure everyone has an opportunity to catch everything from the beginning. But today is going to be a little bit different. Normally I talk to my audience about things related to investing in Belize, so banking rules and tourism numbers and occupancy rates, and I really highlight a lot of the special properties that I have listed right now. But today is going to be a little bit different because I want to focus on a really interesting article that I came across while flying to Iceland back in June. And while reading the article, I came across a lot of unique things that really help connect the dots for me regarding Belize, my clients who are buying in Belize coming down, and I wanted to share that with you today. But just before we get started, in order for me to help improve the quality of these webinars and to really give you information that you're looking for, I'm just going to launch a quick poll. It's going to take no more than 20 seconds. You should see this pop up on your screen today. I'm just going to simply ask you the question, why are you attending this webinar today? And if you would just please do me a favor, click one or more of these options as far as why you're attending, what you hope to get out of this, what information you're looking for, and this will help me to tailor these webinars as I move forward and as I do these in the upcoming weeks and months. So please just take a minute, go ahead and vote. And once everyone's done voting, I'll go ahead and I'll close the poll and actually share it with you. I think it's kind of neat for you to see who your fellow attendees are and what they're also looking at doing. So let's see. All right, everything is still in process. Give everyone just another 5 seconds. All right. All right, I know you're still voting, but I want to close and move on, so let me close. And I'll share that with you. So in this poll, about 40% of you are looking to own vacation property, 20% are looking to retire in Belize, and 40% would like to invest in Belize. Excellent, very good. So with that in mind, I will skew this webinar toward those stats and towards those numbers, and even maybe change up my ones that I'm presenting next week. All right, well, let's move forward. First of all, I am Dennis Kaye. I'll give you the 60-second rundown of who I am. My wife and I were born and raised in Michigan, United States, moved to Belize in 2003, and traveled extensively in the country, all the way from the mainland to the islands, living in several places and experienced all that Belize has to offer. While there, I got involved in Belize real estate as an investor. Then I got into a real estate brokerage, and I've helped many, many people to buy and own their own slice of paradise in Belize. And along the way, I've had a fantastic time being able to work with producers of such shows as Live Here, Buy This, House Hunters International, been on several podcasts regarding investing in Belize. So it's been a lot of fun. And I will tell you that it has really helped Steph and I, my wife, to really live the life of our dreams. And I hope to be able to do that for some of you as well. Now, one thing I found out by working with hundreds of clients over the years is that it's sort of funny in a way, but I originally thought that people were coming to Belize because it was a beautiful tropical country and it was the island life people always dreamed about, the postcard life, and that people actually wanted that. But the more I got into my client's business, so to speak, and the more questions I asked, the more I realized that they were actually not running to Belize per se, but running away from something in their life, usually in the United States or Canada. Most of my clients are Americans. And so I found out that what they were running from was a host of things, such as a stressful life, a career that no longer suited them, perhaps living in an ice cold climate that they just wanted to get out of the winters. They were tired of driving on the icy roads and putting up with the cold and snow, or perhaps It was simply running away from relationships that were no longer suiting them. So maybe they had gone through a messy divorce, or they had friends that had turned south or whatever. But what I found was they were looking for options outside of America, and Belize just happened to be one of those options because they were actually looking for something different than the life they currently had. Now, that may or not be true of you. Some of you said you're looking at vacation homes, so maybe you have a picture perfect life where you're at, and this is just going to be simply a place for you to get away and enjoy a different culture, maybe some warmth in the wind or something like that. Those of you who are looking to invest, maybe you're going to use those funds to improve your life in other ways, maybe quit your job, build that business you're looking at doing, something like that. But most of my clients who are buying in Belize and wanting to relocate and retire here, they're doing so because they're looking for a feeling that their current life simply isn't getting them. So they're being drawn to countries like Belize because when they visit, these places seem to be the places that make them feel good. And this is what I realized. They were looking for something that made them feel different in something that their current life was lacking. So this really helped me to connect the dots as to why that is so. As I mentioned, I was flying to Iceland from Paris here back in June. Steph and I were going on a week-long vacation, and I picked up the June issue of Men's Health magazine, and there was an article in there entitled "The Power of Awe." And the title of it was "Why You Need to Start Blowing Your Mind More Often" by Michael Behar. And I wish I could find this electronically online. I could send you the link. I don't know how I can do that. I didn't find that yet. But it is an amazing article, and it applies so much to almost every single one of my clients who I have looking at Belize. And here's some of the information that I found exciting. Now, some of this might be getting down in the weeds. You might think, Dennis, where is this going? Don't worry. I think you're really going to appreciate this when all is said and done, because some of it might apply to you and why you're looking at Belize as an option. First of all, science and researchers are finding out that regularly experiencing a sense of wonder or awe may boost immunity, lower stress, fight inflammation, and even enhance well being. Now, if you're like me, you might live a little bit of a stressful lifestyle. You might have some generalized anxiety, as I do. Certain things sometimes stress me out. And so, what I normally try to do in those things is I try to meditate, eat well, exercise, and those are all good. But I have found that in my own life, when I get out of my circle and experience something awesome, makes me go, wow, I feel less stress. And that feeling carries on for several days and weeks, maybe even months after that effect. And here I'm finding out that this is actually scientifically proven. If we experience awe, often triggered by vastness or something much larger than we are, or much larger than our usual environment, we can have this feeling of immense wonder. Now, three places that the article actually mentioned that this can take place at is number one, the Grand Canyon. So, sitting on the edge of a Grand Canyon and just being in awe at the vastness and the immense power and depth behind the Grand Canyon. Number two, the Milky Way galaxy, stargazing, looking off into space, even viewing such videos and pictures as the Hubble telescope puts out, or simply being in a boat out in the open ocean, looking at the massive amount of water and the endlessness of the views. These things often produce a sense of awe, which has an effect not only on the mind, but also on the body. So, how can awe affect you? Well, in this article, it brought out that feeling this on a regular basis can actually do several things. Number one, it can reduce inflammation. Number two, lower stress and boost immunity. Number three, inspire creativity. And then we have a few more for such as lift and improve your mood, evoke spirituality, and improve and deepen your relationships. Now that's a pretty big claim to make simply by putting yourself in an environment that you feel awe. Sounds like a magic pill of some sorts. But actually, if you're into any sort of longevity or healthness or well-being, you'll see that more and more doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists are actually prescribing time outdoors, time in nature, time to reflect, and if you can, put yourself in an environment where you can experience this feeling of awe. Now, here's some studies that I found really fascinating. This one was done by Jennifer Stellar, a doctor at the University of Toronto. What she did is studied various emotions that actually have an effect on lowering inflammation in the body. For example, chronic inflammation is associated with all sorts of things: cardiovascular disease, arthritis, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's. Me, one, because I'm a little bit of a worrier, I get my blood checked every year, and I notice that sometimes my inflammation markers are up. Well, in this study, they tested people's inflammation markers, their biomarkers, and they rated them as far as how often they experienced positive emotions such as joy, love, passion, contentment, which are all good in your life. But they found that one emotion stood heads and tails above them all in its ability to lower those inflammation biomarkers. And that was the feeling of awe or a sense of wonder. Now, I have had this happen several times in my life while hiking in the Alps, while sailing in Belize, while exploring the jungles of Central America. Most recently, as I said, my wife and I went to Iceland. This is an incredible country. I've been to over 30 countries in my life, and this is by far, next to Belize, the top country for nature that I've ever been in. While driving around in a camper van for these 7 days, experiencing waterfalls, endless vistas, volcanoes, icebergs, and just beautiful black sand beaches, I slept better. I had almost zero stress and anxiety, zero worry. I became extremely creative, hadn't changed my diet at all. And you might say, well, yeah, you can do those things because you weren't working or you weren't stressed with other things that you normally would in life. That wasn't it. The feelings of awe that I experienced because of this environment still affect me today. For example, if I get up in the morning, I'm a little bit anxious over the workload I have, or maybe a deal that's not closing on time. All I need to do is spend about 5 minutes meditating on the sailing trip I took in Belize, or a walk through these waterfalls here in Iceland, and it has a remarkable calming effect on me, which proven it can lower my inflammation. Now, it can also, the sense of awe, improve and deepen your relationships. Well, how? Well, one researcher, Amy Gordon, who is also a doctor, has said that when we experience awe or wonder with a close friend or with our mates, that we feel this big release of dopamine together, this bonding hormone that's released. And this is true especially when a couple experiences something incredible together for the first time. It says that this may override the boredom and the routine you get into. So, what I find in Belize, this is absolutely true, that many of my couples who come down, they say that in their normal life, they fight more, they argue more. Why? Because they have more stress triggers, they're dealing with a lot more issues. And when they come to Belize, they're on island, they're relaxed, they're on vacation, they feel more in love. There's the term that they rekindle the romance. So perhaps many people like to take exotic vacations to rekindle that romance. So part of it is being away from the everyday stress of your job and life. But a big part of it is that together you're experiencing new things together, new vistas, sense of awe, sense of wonder, and that can have a dramatic effect on your relationships, both with your spouse and with your friends. Another study that's also pretty cool is done by Melanie Rudd, a doctor at the University of Houston, regarding the power it has to make us more creative. For example, when we look up at the sky on a star-filled night, we realize how small and insignificant we are. We become humble in that moment. We don't think we know everything. We have everything figured out. So in that moment, it makes us more motivated to learn. And a sense of awe, this exposing ourselves to openness, can actually create in us a desire to want to make something or do something or create something. For example, I can't ask for a show of hands, but how many of you have been on an extended holiday somewhere like a tropical beach, maybe in Belize or maybe other parts of the world, and during that vacation time, you had these incredible ideas come up of things you wanted to do in your life, the book you wanted to write or the blog you wanted to start, or if you're a musician, the piece you wanted to compose. These things happen when we're on vacation because those types of views that we expose ourselves to, they create in us a desire to want to do something. Now, sadly, if you're like me, once you get back home to your normal routine, well, all those desires get put in the shelf and in the drawer, and we don't take action on them until we go on another extended holiday, and those same ideas pop back up. We say, you know what, this time I have to do something about it. Well, that's the power of exposing ourselves to awe-inspiring situations. Give you a little example here in my own life. While taking this exact boat, the Seduction Catamaran, on a day trip from Ambergris Caye to Caye many years ago, I came up with a brilliant idea that instead of only contacting my clients like you through email or through Skype, that I wanted a visual way, an interactive way to connect with you, to tell you about Belize and answer your questions. So it came to me on this boat, why not try these things called webinars? I didn't know what they were. Not many people knew back then. But I thought, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. And regularly since then, for several years now, this has been my main way of creation and in corresponding with you guys. And it was on this boat that I had that breakthrough. Those wide open vistas, the feeling of weightlessness as I swam in the sea, the creativity just flows when we put ourselves in environments like that. Now, when doing my research for this webinar, I came across this great article entitled 8 Reasons Why All Makes Your Life Better, just released on September 26, 2018. And you can find it on the internet. If you want it, I'll send you the link. It also is backed up by research that says that these feelings of awe can make you happier, healthier, more humble, and more connected to people around you. The problem with all of this, as you're probably wondering, is how can we feel these things in our daily lives more often? Because many times, if we're stuck in a rut or stuck in our hometown with our job and our family and our kids, it's very difficult to experience this. So you know what we do oftentimes? I know I did this when I was living full time in Michigan, is that we tend to seek out periods throughout the year where we can have these awesome moments. Or, for example, you might go to a live musical concert, perhaps an all-day event, or maybe a classical event or a rock concert, and you notice that when you're there feeling the thump of the bass and the cheering of the crowds, you don't think about anything else but this elation. Music can have a powerful effect on you. Or perhaps you plan a vacation to an exotic place, or when you have the opportunity, you get out of the city and you go in the country and you stare up at the sky, and for those brief moments, you feel awe, and that can have a profound effect on your health. So, what does all of this have to do with Belize? Well, I'm making the connection now because many years ago, going all the way back to 2009 when I started dealing in real estate on Ambergris Caye, many of my clients told me, Dennis, I'm running away from X. And that X could be stress, weather, something that they didn't like in their life that was making them feel bad. And they told me that they like the way they feel when they are on Ambergris Caye. When they're in Belize, that they have they become a different person, they told me. And that is why they came to me looking for help to relocate, to have a vacation home, to have a retirement home so they could spend more time on the island. Now, so perhaps without even realizing it or making the connection with awe and wonder, people are looking to find their place of peace, their calm, their sense of awe in places like Belize. Now, I say like Belize because although I'm 100% convinced that Belize is the place for most people, I get a lot of emails that say, Dennis, I'm looking at the following countries, and they'll name off 3 or 4: Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Belize, Mexico. They're researching places. Why? Because they want to find one that makes them feel good, that reduces their stress, that they like who they become when they are there in that place. And not surprisingly, many of my clients, including you who are attending today, if you've been to Belize before, you like the way you feel when you are in Belize, and you may not like the way you feel as much when you are back home. So, kind of tying all of this in together now, I just received an email to give you a little example of how this works. This email came through just a few days ago. It says, Hi, Dennis. I was on Ambergris Caye a few weeks ago and saw your sign on a few properties around Secret Beach. Can you email me some more info on them? I'm interested. Signed, Kyle. All right. So if you are a typical real estate agent or broker in America or in Belize, What is your immediate response to this email? Ah, well, that's easy. Here's a lot, here's the price, here's the size, here's what you can build on it. All right. But is that what Kyle is really looking for from me as an agent? Notice what he says there. He says he was on Ambergris Caye. All right. So a few weeks ago, so several weeks have gone by now. He saw a few properties at Secret Beach. So he was in a very popular part of the island where a lot of tourists and locals go. And he saw some properties and he's interested, he says, in the properties. But is he really? What is Kyle really interested in? He went there several weeks ago. Apparently, Ambergris Caye had a positive effect on him. He felt good when he was there. Now, Secret Beach wasn't the only place that he obviously experienced. I'm guessing he was there for 7 to 9 days. He probably went snorkeling, maybe did some diving, fishing, ate at some of the island restaurants, slept late, had a few drinks at the beach bars, things that people could do when they're on vacation. But whatever it was that he did, he felt so good that he wanted the opportunity to extend his time on the island. And in his mind, the way to do that would be to own some property, right? It makes sense. So what he's asking me for isn't to help him buy some property, it's to help him get back to feeling the way he felt when he was on Ambergris Caye. So sometimes people, like myself included, who are in the marketing and sales business, we always want to focus on the things that you can do in Belize. For example, you can do a lot of things if you want, snorkeling, diving, fishing, all of those things that we mentioned. But what we should be focusing on are the things that you can do because they make you feel a certain way. And that's what I want to do right now. Give you an example of the things you can feel on Ambergris Caye to experience this all. So this is 1 week of all on Ambergris Caye. If you haven't been here before, maybe follow this schedule the next time you come down, maybe over the winter. If you have been here before, try these things out the next time you visit. First of all, on Monday morning, wake up early. The sun rose today at 5:50 a.m. and watch the sunrise over the Caribbean. This is an actual photograph taken on the east side of Ambergris Caye. The sun is going to come up, and if you're sitting there with your coffee, either looking at it from your own property or from Ruby's Cafe or one of the other cafes that are open at 6 o'clock and 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning, imagine sitting there quietly, no phone, turn that phone off, and just contemplate life and the magnificence that the sun rises every single day on cue, and just breathe it in. Imagine that. Now, it works because every day that you're on island, if you start it this way, I guarantee your day is going to go pretty good. You're going to experience that sense of awe. Tuesday, next day, do something adventurous. Go deep sea fishing. This is good for a couple of reasons. First of all, it gets you out into that open blue water. You go so far out sometimes that you can't even see land. All you're surrounded by is deep blue, miles and miles of water. And not only is it beautiful, you realize how small you are in the world, but then if you're lucky enough, you get the thrill of reeling in tonight's dinner. So some mahi mahi, some wahoo, some big grouper, some snapper. This is an incredible feeling that you may or may not get now where you live in North America. Do this on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you can do two things at the Blue Hole. You can snorkel the edges, or if you have your certificate, you can actually scuba dive the Blue Hole. So on Wednesday, take a boat out and experience the depths of the world famous Blue Hole. It's absolutely breathtaking. You can do it by boat. You can take a tropic air flight over it. You can take pictures. Ask from helicopters flies over the Blue Hole if you just want to get a nice aerial shot. Places like this inspire the imagination. They really create this sense of awe. And Richard Branson, one of my business mentors, is a business person and billionaire philanthropist who also on a daily basis tries to experience awe in his life in different ways. And he is actually going there. Richard Branson tweeted this just yesterday, that he is very happy to be going on a historic expedition to the bottom of the Blue Hole, raising awareness of the need to protect the ocean, and doing some fascinating experiments. So I don't know if we have the dates that he'll be there for that yet, but it's going to be pretty cool to have Sir Richard Branson here in our own backyard. So do this on Wednesday. Thursday, head to the mainland and explore all that it has to offer. Oops. Explore all that it has to offer. For example, you can take a, oops, one minute. Okay. You can take a boat over to the main Mayan city of Lamanai. This is an incredible, preserved, ancient Mayan city. See how they live, see how they built, contemplate this ancient civilization that was built here in the jungle along the Lamanai River. Or do something else on the mainland. Go cave tubing, go horseback riding the jungle. Experience these moments of awe. I'll never forget one time, Steph and I went to the baboon sanctuary close by Ladyville, Belize, and we went into the jungle and we had these soft little mangoes in our hands, and these little baby baboons come down from the tree, these little howler monkeys, and they actually took the little fruit right out of our hands. And I tell you what, the whole event maybe lasted 2 minutes, but to this day, I still remember the feeling that I got when I experienced those animals in the wild. So do something on the mainland, get into those jungles, explore. It's absolutely incredible, and see if you don't get those same feelings that I did. On Friday, be immersed in the thriving Mesoamerican reef. This is just off the shores of Ambergris Caye and Caye Caulker at the Holchan Marine Reserve. When you don your snorkel and your mask and your flippers and you head down, you're going to see all sorts of things down here. You're going to see turtles, stingrays, eagle rays, fish, nurse sharks. Believe me, you spend an hour and a half down here and you come up with a sense of awe at the life that is teeming on these reefs. On Saturday, stay up late. Try to get to a part of the island away from San Pedro, maybe one of the resorts north, and look up until you can see clearly the beauty of the heavens, the stars. Steph and I were spending some time up at Sueño del Mar, which is about 13 miles north of Ambergris Caye a few years ago, and we laid out on the end of the dock, had a few ice cold Belgian beers, and we could actually see the Milky Way. This is not a picture that we took. This is obviously a time lapse photograph of the Milky Way, but this is taken on Ambergris Caye. But the stars were just amazing. No light pollution. You could just see everything, even a couple of shooting stars. I know sometimes in North America, depending on where you live, it's hard to see stars these days. Try to do this one time when you're on Ambergris Caye. It's absolutely amazing. And then finally on Sunday, try this. Spend some time alone, walking on one of the empty beaches on the north or west sides of the island, and just simply have a list of little facts that you can look at, that you maybe put down in your phone in the notes area. For example, your body produces 25 million new cells each second. 25 million a second. Can you imagine that? So let's count to four. 1001, 1002, 1003, 1004. All of us in attendance today just produced 100 million new cells in 4 seconds. Amazing. Or contemplate that the earth is spinning at approximately 1,000 miles per hour, but we don't even feel it. Or there are 8.7 million species of life on the earth, from the smallest microorganisms to the gigantic blue whale. Experience a sense of awe outside of who and what you experience now in your life, and do it in a location like this that helps you be creative and to reduce your stress and reduce inflammation. And now for the next 90 seconds, I'm just going to go through some pictures. I'm not going to say anything. These are all pictures taken in Belize, many of them by Tony Rath, a very famous Belizean photographer. Just look at these pictures and think about how you would feel if you saw things like this in person. All right, go. All right, there you go. Just want to give you a little bit of time without me talking to interrupt the flow. But just go back a little bit. Can you imagine this being your bed, either for a week or for a month or longer? Those kind of views. Don't know what your view is like now from the bed, but that's a pretty nice view. Or how about trading in your current living room for this one? That's pretty nice, right there at the water's edge. It's absolutely possible, doable, much cheaper on Ambergris Caye than certainly other parts of the world. So many start to look for ways to spend more and more time in Belize. And that's when they start to contact me because they've been there or they know they would like it just based on, looking at videos and reading reports and reviews. And what they're looking for is for that feeling to continue. So here's where I come in. How can I help? Some of you said you're looking for a vacation home, you're looking to invest, you're looking for a place to retire. I can help with all that. I've done those things myself in Belize, and I've helped hundreds of clients to do that as well. So let's go back to this email that Kyle sent me. I was on Ambergris Caye a few weeks ago, saw your sign on a few properties around Secret Beach. Can you email me some more info on them? I'm interested. All right. So what I'm going to do, what I have already done is I email Kyle and say, Kyle, exactly what are you going to do with the property in Belize? How do you see yourself using a property in Belize? And then we can go forward with some recommendations because having a property in Belize can offer you a way to experience more time in the island, or it can be a boat anchor, or it can just be a bad investment. So I really encourage you to really be open and honest with me when you email me and tell me exactly what it is you want to accomplish, and then we can work together to get you into a property that helps recreate those feelings that you're looking for. Now, for some of you, you have been inquiring about the Secret Beach properties as Kyle did. I just sold one today, actually about 2 hours ago, so I've had to update my map. There are right now these properties available. For those of you who don't know where Secret Beach is, it is on the west side of Ambergris Caye. It's a very popular spot. If you go on TripAdvisor, go to Ambergris Caye, top things to do, and Secret Beach will pop right up. It's a #1 spot now for fishing, for hanging out. There's some great little beach bars over there. There's some places to stay. New homes are going up, some more restaurants, things like that. A lot of exciting things happening around Secret Beach. And so because many of you often go there on your holidays, you end up falling in love with it, and you might think you want to own property, build a vacation home, retire in this area. So if so, here is what I have available. Starting at the top left, top right of your screen, parcel 8520. It's a very nice lot. We'll be on a main road connecting right to the beach. Price is $27.5. That's US dollars. That's a cash deal. No financing available on that one. The person wants to recoup their funds, move on to another larger investment. I also have two side-by-side lots, 8344 and 8345. These are also on a very large main road leading right to Secret Beach. These are only about, fourth and fifth rows back. These lots are going for 55,000 US each, and seller financing is available. Also, there's a main road commercial property, parcel 8337, which is priced at 62,000. That comes with financing. And then finally, two second row lots are priced at 85,000 each, and also those come with seller financing. So there are other properties that I have available throughout the island. These are just a few because I didn't want to make this webinar be about listings and properties and whatnot. I just really want to give you an idea of why some people are choosing Ambergris Caye and how buying real estate on the island can help afford you more opportunities to experience those things. So, for example, investing in Belize real estate can do two things for you. Number one, it can give you an excuse to spend more time in the island. So, hey, sorry, third cousin, I can't come to your wedding in June because I got to go down to Belize and check on my property, right? Or, sorry, I can't come home for the holidays because, and see everybody that, that doesn't really like me anymore, want me around because I got to go down to Belize and see how my property is doing. So it can give you an excuse legitimately to kind of like live your own life and get control back of your time. That does work for some people. I've seen that excuse used quite a bit, actually. And second, if you do end up buying a property now, it can secure your future vacation or retirement home. So you might not be in a part of your life now where you're going to spend extended time in Belize, but you like what you see so far and you have the goal of experiencing these moments that we've talked about more and more in your life as time goes on. And so if that's your goal for the future, then buying a simple property now can secure your spot so that you can be able to build your vacation home, retire in Belize somewhere down the road, no matter if that's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. So that's where I can come in. That's where I can help. Where I can also help is advise you on such things as immigration, how to overcome some of the immigration issues we have with expats spending long periods of time in the country. For example, I have a very good contact who can help you out with your QRP, which is your Qualified Retired Persons program that the Belize government offers to qualified retirees. We have those who can help you get your long-term residency card, help you start businesses in Belize. So we have all those things available if you need them. So I have been talking now for about 34 minutes. I'm going to take a quick pause, grab a sip of water, and then I'm going to take some questions live from you guys. So give me just a couple minutes here, and I'll get right back to you. All right. So let's do this. While you're thinking of your questions, this is a good poll for me to launch, if you would. Have you been to Ambergris Caye before? So if you would, please go ahead and vote, just so I kind of know who's been down here, who hasn't been, and that way I can again tailor my the answering of your questions now to whether or not you know a little bit about the island, don't know anything, just kind of researching things like that. So if you see the poll, go ahead and vote. And wow, this is actually pretty shocking. Are all of you voting? I'm going to close this poll out. Oh, whoa, okay. All right, a little bit. Okay, that's it. I'm going to close it out and share it with you guys. So you see exactly what's going on. Interesting. So, have you been to Ambergris Caye before? 83% of you have not been here before. Wow. That's probably the highest I've ever had on one of these webinars. That's excellent. But you're planning a trip down, so excellent. I can send you some hotel recommendations, flight recommendations, things to do, things like that. And then 17% of you said you are serious about owning some type of property. Let's chat. Excellent. I don't have a way of knowing who the 17% are and who the 83% are. So if you would, go ahead and just email me after this webinar and put in the subject line, Dennis, I'd like trip recommendations, travel recommendations, or if you want to own property, say, Dennis, interested in property. And then I'll be able to get back with you and set up something. All right. So you got questions. Now, some of the questions that you submitted before, uh, I, for example, before the webinar started, I had a couple emails come in, but they require longer answers than I'm able to give at this time. And some of those questions I've answered in other webinars, so I'm simply going to send you the links so you can get the full answer in detail. But I will be able to take some questions that require maybe a shorter answer at this time. So I have a question here from Rhonda. Rhonda says, I am concerned about Secret Beach and many people using it. Concerned about overdevelopment of the area. Need to visit to see myself. Okay, excellent. That's a great question, Rhonda. So let me go back to my slide as I answer this. This is a portion. I got to hide the results. Okay, there we go. So what you're seeing now is a portion of the island that has been subdivided. This is actually a subdivision called Ambergris Bay subdivision. It contains several hundred lots that were subdivided back in the year 2003 by the Belize government. So all of these are individually titled and surveyed, and they're all free and clear. Most of them are free and clear, titles ready to go. All the ones that I have listed are titled. But you can see each one of those squares represents a plot of land. And so the person who owns that plot of land can certainly build something on that if they want, whether it be a home or a duplex or a small business. So right now, there are very few developments in the area, but over time that absolutely will change and it will get built up, just like any part of the island. So your concern about being overbuilt is it's going to be built up, and that's why it's subdivided. So you look at an island property anywhere on the island where you have subdivisions available, you're going to have homes built, you're going to have businesses in, and that's just kind of the reality of island life. The only way to get around that or to have more space is to simply buy a much larger property than what is common. So for example, many of these lots here are 60 feet by 80 foot wide or 75 by 100. Some are slightly bigger. But it's very difficult to find a large piece of property. I do have a couple available. For example, in the Habanero subdivision on the upper east side of the island, I have lots that are 125-foot wide by 250 deep. So they're about 5 to 6 times larger than anything at Secret Beach. So you can buy one of those properties and secure a much larger piece of land, maybe for a garden or a pool or things like that. But what you'll find in Ambergris Caye that is that island property comes at a huge premium. And I think you'll find this true no matter where you go in the world. As you get close to the water, other than actual waterfront homes like the big mansions of Palm Beach, maybe along the coast of California, you're going to find that you know lots and homes tend to be on the smaller side the closer you are to the water. And it's simply because they're more valuable. If any of you have traveled up to Playa del Carmen, maybe you've visited the Playa Car subdivisions, Playa Car 1, Playa Car 2. These are beautiful subdivisions, but again, they are just single family home sites. So it will get built up. And actually, the clients that I have buying these areas like that because some of them are going to capitalize on this. They're going to put in restaurants and bars and little businesses, and that's what they're going to use to fund their life in this part of the island. They're going to have those little side businesses so they can hustle and make some money. So they're not necessarily looking for a pristine, quiet, where nothing's going on neighborhood. They want a little bit of lively action. But if you're not, if you're looking for that very quiet, peaceful life, then you might want to look at something in the Mahogany Bay Village subdivision, which is down south about 2 miles. This is part of the Hilton Curio collection. Perhaps you've seen that. Let me highlight that before. This is a residential subdivision with just very few businesses. This might be more to your liking because it's all structured. It has HOAs in place, things like that. But it's at a completely different price point, and it is a completely different property. As an example, the lots in Mahogany Bay Village, those are all canal front lots. They start at 150,000 US, and there are some architectural guidelines that you need to adhere to when you build in there. But still, nothing crazy or outrageous, just standard guidelines. So there's a certain form and fit and function to all the homes in the area. But a home in there, you're looking at paying almost maybe double for, excuse me, than what you're looking at building it somewhere on Secret Beach or other parts of the island. So hope that answers your question. But yes, absolutely, come down and hope to show you around and have you see it for yourself. Another questions from Lay. Is there power to the area of Secret Beach? So at this time, no, there is not. We have understood that we've received some reports from the Belize Tourism Board and the government of Belize that they do want to bring power over from the east side. They recognize the huge potential in this area, and so they are in negotiations to bring power over. But right now, everything you see that is built here and that is going to be built is actually planned to be built off grid. Our builders are very good at using solar, wind generation, backup generators, things like that. So right now, when you experience Secret Beach, you'd never guess that there's no power, city power in the area. That being said, we do expect power to get there very soon. And when we do, truth be told, buyer beware, prices are absolutely going to shoot through the roof. And this is not a sales tactic, so don't blame me for that or say I'm using some sort of marketing or scarcity tactic. I can show you right now, if you get on your computers after this webinar and you look for off-beach properties anywhere on the east side where there's power, anywhere, you're going to find prices double or triple what they are now at Secret Beach. I can show you proof of this. I just saw a second row lot, which is about 3 miles south of town on the east side, which has power and water. The price on it is $150,000 for a second row lot. If 150 or 175, maybe even 175, but absolutely crazy compared to price at Secret Beach. And over there, you can't swim in the waters because there's a lot of seagrass. The waters are very shallow, very mucky. So Secret Beach will always have these beautiful swimming waters. So I suggest, if you can afford it, and if now is the time for you, no pressure on my end, it would be good to buy something before power gets there. Because how real estate works in Belize is that with each phase of development, we see a major price increase. For example, a few years ago, there were no roads in this area. As soon as we had a road, boom, prices doubled. As soon as we had the first house go in, the first beach bar go in, the first bed and breakfast go in, with more and more development, comes higher and higher prices because there's less risk. Obviously, the clients of mine who bought 3 years ago, when there was nothing in this area, they were taking the highest risk because there's nothing there yet. Would people come? Would this be a desirable area? Now, with each passing phase, the risk goes down, so the price goes up, just like that anywhere on the island. All right, so hopefully I answered your question there. Appreciate that. Here's another question: are there other beaches to access? The the entire island has beaches surrounding it. Obviously, it's an island, comes without saying, I guess, but not all beaches are swimmable. For example, on the East Coast, starting from about San Pedro going south all the way to the tip, those beaches tend to be very, very low, grassy, non-swimmable. Even at Victoria House, one of the top resorts in the island, people don't swim in the beach; they use the pool. Going north, you run into some very nice areas where you can swim. For example, ooh, that was a power flicker. Hopefully, you guys are still there. You can swim around Grand Caribe, Cocoa Beach. They keep the beaches nice. Once you go even further north, you get into some nice areas. But really, the swimming beaches tend to be on the Ambergris Bay side, so the west side of the island. The east side is more for kayaking, taking a kayak out to the reef, getting out past the initial seagrass area and into the clear waters, going to the reef and snorkeling them and exploring that. But the west side is where most of the swimming takes place, right from shore. Sorry, guys, about this cough. I don't know, maybe allergies or something. Just take a drink of water. All right. So, any other questions coming in regarding anything I talked about now, things to do on the island? I will take one question about healthcare that came up. I won't go into depth about it, but there is good healthcare on Ambergris Caye. Excellent doctors, excellent polyclinic for all major emergencies, like someone gets a leg cut off or falls down the stairs, breaks their bones or whatever. There's excellent hospitals in Belize City. They're a simple 15-minute flight away. They can do excellent job of patching you up. Surgery. Had a good friend of mine actually have brain surgery at the hospital there in Belize City. They have very good medical care there. So both places, between Ambergris Caye and the mainland, you have excellent medical care. One thing about prescriptions that you were asking about, most prescriptions are available in Belize. But what I recommend clients do is, if you can get your doctor to write you like a 6-month prescription, some of them would do that, especially if it's like a regular blood pressure medicine or diabetes medicine, something like that. You can go to Sam's Club or Walgreens in the States, pick up your medicines pretty cheap, and then just bring them down for a 6-month stint. And most of you guys are probably going to end up going back and forth once or twice a year anyway, so that usually isn't a problem. So we can talk more about healthcare at a different time. I'll send you a link and some information. Here's a question from is it Rahul? All right, very good. So he asks a question: do many people build concrete versus wood for hurricane reasons? Excellent. I wish I could get out of my slides and show you something else, Rahul, because there's a neat way to answer that question. Number one is, you can absolutely build out of concrete. It's probably almost hurricane proof if you build right. There's a lot of developments now that are going with 100% concrete walls, interior and exterior. They're going with concrete capped roofs, concrete poured ceilings, everything, because it really makes it a massive tank-like structure that can uphold and withstand any winds. And the insurance on those structures are a little bit less as well. So a lot of people are going with that. So if we get something major come through, the house isn't going anywhere. They're going with hurricane windows and doors. So that's certainly one way to build. I would say probably about 60% of my clients go with concrete. However, the technology has gotten really good now with Belizean hardwood homes. In fact, the entire 210-room resort of the Curio Collection, the new resort at Mahogany Bay Village, that is built 100% out of wood. There is no concrete involved. Even their great house, which they have the restaurant in and they hold big major events in, everything's built out of Belizean hardwoods, but they've designed it in such a way that the winds will blow through the house and do as little damage as possible. So this is and actually it's a science. If you Google hurricane architecture, you can actually design very nice wood homes that hold up well in a hurricane. The insurance on those is a little more expensive than it is for concrete, but it's a lot cheaper to build as well. And there's also something to be said for aesthetics. Sometimes concrete can feel a little cold and impersonal depending on how you finish it. I really like the look and feel of some of the Belizean hardwood homes. It has an island character, sort of, to me, fits in a little bit more with the island vibe, a little bit softer. But again, it just all goes for personal preference. But what I can do is I can send you some examples of both new concrete construction homes that Granielle, one of our top builders, has built, and I can send you some examples of wooden structures, both commercial and individual homes that my clients have built, and give you an idea of what you can build. All right, very good. Here is a question. How is mail delivery for packages? That's a good question. Actually, mail delivery works pretty good in Belize. I've had family and friends send me down many packages right to the Belize post office. Most of the time, you have to go there to pick it up because there is no mail service. Everything comes into the local post office. You just address it to me, Dennis Caye, Ambergris Caye, Belize, and then I can go into the post office and just pick it up. One word of not warning, but one word of education on this is that whatever you are sending into the country, the one who picks it up has to pay stamp duty on it, or import tax. And typically that's 50% of the value. So for example, if you were to send me a CD that is worth 20 US dollars, I would have to pay 10 US dollars for that CD as a stamp duty or import tax. And that's true if you send me a bag of coffee, if you send a loved one down a care package. That is just the way the Belize government makes their money, because property taxes are extremely low. There is no capital gains taxes. Other taxes are extremely low. So the main way they make their money is through this import tax. So anything you send down by mail will be subject to it. So hopefully that answers your question on that. All right. Here's another question. Going back to building, is there a height restriction in areas like Secret Beach? Yes, there is. There is a 3-story height limit on all construction on Ambergris Caye, especially residential construction. You will find some commercial projects, such as condominium projects, that have been allowed to go 4 stories. One that I know of has even been approved to go 5, but those tend to be the much larger projects on larger sections of beachfront. But as an example, what I tell most of my clients to do if they're building on a property like around Secret Beach is elevate your home by 10 to 12 feet. So put it up on stilts, simply because of the views. You get incredible views, a little bit better breezes, and then build yourself a 2-story home with a rooftop deck. So you could have maybe like a 900 square foot home, which is on the second floor, put your master bedroom and master bath on the second floor. So now you're up 3 stories. And even on top of that, go ahead and put like an outdoor living room. So some couches, some chairs, maybe a barbecue, maybe a wet bar, something like that. So imagine the views as you get up 33 feet. I think 33 feet is our height limit. The island is so flat, you'll be able to see for miles. Just you probably can be able to see the mainland from that far up. But you have great views, great vistas, and you've still kept the footprint of the house small enough so it's very reasonable to build, and it's very, very cost effective. Here's a question from David. David says, I am moving to Ambergris Caye soon. Can you talk about immigration, registering with U.S. Embassy, etc.? Yes, absolutely, David. So there's a couple of different ways that you can stay long-term in Belize. Number one is when you land, as you go through immigrations and customs, they will stamp your passport, and that stamp is good for 30 days, a 30-day stay, and you have to leave the country before that 30-day mark ends, or on that 30-day mark ends. If you want to extend your stay, there are immigration offices throughout the country of Belize. There's one on Ambergris Caye. You simply go in to the immigration office on the day that your visa expires, or maybe the day before, and you say, I want to stay another month. Well, you pay them 25 Belize dollars, and they will stamp your passport again, and you can stay another 30 days. So now that gets you up to 60 days. You can keep doing this for 6 months, every month. They've never gave anyone a problem that I know of. And after the 6th month, if you still haven't left the country and you still want to stay, the price goes from $25 up to $50, and then you can continue to stay. Now, most of my clients who are going to end up relocating to the island end up staying on the island for 12 months, only leaving for 2 weeks out of the 12. Because if you stay for 1 year like this, then you can apply for permanent residency. And that is just as it sounds. It's a form you fill out and you tell the Belize government, I want to reside permanently here. Once you get your permanent residency, you can go back and forth to the States or Canada however many times you want. Not an issue, because in your passport you have a stamp that you have permanent residency. So what I would suggest, David, if you can, is try to make that first year count. Actually, it doesn't have to be the first year. For example, if you move to Ambergris Caye soon and you find out that you need to go back to the States for a bit, well, go ahead and go back. But just remember that within any given 12-month period, you can only be gone 2 weeks or less. So try to do that your first couple years, get that permanent residency. Another way you can do this is by getting a work permit. So if you start a business and apply for a work permit, or you go to work for one of the resorts or one of the other companies, they can sponsor you. Then a work permit is also like a permanent residency card where you can stay indefinitely. As far as registering for the U.S. Embassy, I've never done that. I know they advise you to in case there's an emergency or something happens. Don't know if that's often done by American expats, but I'm not going to advise against it. It's certainly not going to hurt and probably will help, especially in cases of emergency. But that's something you can easily do. Just Google that. Google American Embassy in Belize, registering. I think you can even do it online. Hope that answers your question. All right, here's a question from Tracy. How long does a typical build take if buying property? All right, so if you own your property free and clear and you have title, a typical build, what I tell people is 6 months if you're going with concrete, and start to finish. That's going down from the pouring of the footings to the slab to the finishings works, landscaping, everything. 6 months. If you hear stories of it taking longer, I'm going to tell you from experience, most of the time it's the owner that is causing the delays, not the builder. Because if you give the builder the go ahead and he's clearing what you want, he can hit the ground running and have his team build that in no time at all. What happens though is a lot of times that the owner will come down, see something he wants to change in the middle of the project, and then it just causes delays. So if you're like that, if you know you're going to be very hands-on and changing a lot of things, and that's your prerogative, plan on having it take longer than 6 months, maybe 9. But 6 months is a good figure to use when planning on a build. For wood construction, it's a lot less. You can have a wood construction built in 3 months. In fact, there's companies in the mainland who will build some of the Mennonite homes, which will barge them over to the island, set them up. Those can take 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. But anywhere between 3 and 6 months is plenty of time to get yourself a home built on the island. All right, here's a question from, let's see, Linda. Linda says, do they have specific landscape requirements for properties? Nope, they don't. Belize is very liberal. We don't have very many subdivisions that have HOAs. For example, if you're used to subdivisions in the States, such as in, geez, probably almost every state now, but Florida, Arizona, where you go in and all the mailboxes have to be the same, and there has to be all the driveways the exact same, and the shutters have to be the same color. We don't have any subdivisions like that on Ambergris Caye, except for the Mahogany Bay Village subdivision and the Hilton, no, not the Hilton, but the Marriott. The Marriott Alaya property is going to have a small subdivision with homes. They all have to have a same sort of architecture, look, vibe, and feel. But as far as landscaping on any of the properties that I normally sell, like at Secret Beach, Palmyra Woods, Habaneros, things like that, these are open subdivisions. So you can landscape as you wish. Most of my clients try to do a minimal amount of landscaping that requires maintenance in rain and water. So they might go with some simple bougainvillea, some fast-growing bougainvillea, fast-growing palm trees. Certainly no grass that you'd have to cut. Maybe make use of gravel or rock just to have some sparse landscaping. What also works really well, Linda, going back to the flat rooftop design, is a lot of owners will make rain catchment systems incorporated into the foundations of their homes for use either inside the home or even used as gray water for watering plants and things outside. So you have this little reservoir of water. This is important, especially as your landscaping first starts going. So your palm trees require some waters, your other fast growing foliage, things like that. So, but no, there is no requirement on how you landscape. It's completely up to you. But that being said, there are some cool little greenhouses on the island that will give you some ideas, and some really neat landscaping companies that will sort of bring you up to speed on what works well with the island compared to the mainland. Because, and here's the thing you may not know, that in looking at the weather and rainfall in Belize, Ambergris Caye gets only about 55 inches a year. So it's not a lot compared to parts of the mainland, which get, sometimes 240 inches a year. So what you plant and how you landscape on the island is going to be different than how you might do it on the mainland. All right. So here's a question from Tracy. What about utilizing shipping containers as a home? What would something like that cost? Would that be allowed? Yes, absolutely. So if you Google, let's see, the restaurant truck stop. If you Google truck stop Ambergris Caye, you'll find that it is a series of wood or not wood shipping containers that have been converted into restaurants, serving different foods. Some serve pizza, some serve Belizean food, some serve Mexican food, tacos, things like that. So the truck stop is a good example of using shipping containers as a small business, but you can absolutely use them as a private home. I know many people do that. I've had some fun Googling that, looking at different designs. As far as costs go, I don't know, because I don't know how much it's going to be to buy it, to ship it to Belize, to have it installed on the property. I don't know if it's going to be any cheaper than a Belizean wood home would be, but that would be a good question to come down and talk to Granielle about, or one of the other island builders, and say, look, here's my plans. If I were to get a container down here, how much would you charge to finish it off and to trick it out to make it livable? So sorry, Tracy, don't know the cost on that, but I do know that it is allowed. All right. Here is another question. Is the soil on the island sandy or coral rock soil? It's a big mix. The island is a coral atoll, which has a lot of slate and bedrock right at the surface. So, for example, I don't have any pictures of Secret Beach, but if you saw some of my aerial shots of Secret Beach, you would see that some of it is sand, some of it has that bedrock right at the surface, and that's exactly what the whole island is made of. And so, for example, when you go to build on your property, your builder normally will bring in a couple loads of crushed limestone to give you sort of a base to work with when you're going to do your landscaping. But then you're going to have to find some good black dirt from somewhere. We do have people that provide that. Normally that's trucked in from the mainland. So for your landscaping, you'll have to use some good black dirt in order for something to grow. But I mean, palm trees grow in sand. That's not a big deal. Some of your other plants, but you might want some good black dirt for some gardening purposes, growing your own vegetables, things like that. David says, can you talk about trash and recycling on the island? Yes, we have trash pickup. It's included in your property taxes. There, there are some new things going on, David, with recycling. I'm not up on it. I'm ashamed to say, but the island is becoming very um, sensitive to its ecology. They recognize they have something pristine. For example, they banned all single-use plastics, like plastic bags, things like that. They just banned all drinking straws, and they do have a pretty aggressive recycling program. I'm just not sure what it entails, but I know they do. Maybe something I should check in on and get back to you more about. So sorry, David, I don't know, but I do know it's pretty it's pretty good. It's in the works. Um, I'm just scrolling through, looking for a question I can answer fairly quickly. So let me try to answer this one. Do the hotels have properties for sale? Also have duty restrictions? And do the concessions apply to purchased homes, such as carts and furnishings? So I think what your question is, and I'm maybe clarify this, is certain hotels are also offering homes for sale attached to the hotel or as a part of the resort so the homeowners can take advantage of the service and amenities. For example, the Marriott, Alaya, Mahogany Bay Village, things like this. So I think your question is if you purchased a home that has an affiliation with a hotel, could you have some duties on your uh, you know, things that you would import lowered? Number one is I think that many of these offerings are being offered turnkey with furniture packages already installed. For example, furniture that's made locally in Belize, which is the best option because that supports the local economy. Plus, it really fits in well with the island. As far as things like golf carts and other personal use items, I think you're going to have to pay full duty on those. I don't think the hotels are allowed or can get you any discount. Certainly not anything that I've heard of. I could be wrong, but I guess we need to look at that when the time comes. But from my experience, there's two things I guess you can look at. Number one is you can look at coming down, buying a place, and then furnishing it with furniture you have in the U.S. But that really doesn't fit most of the time. You want more of an island feel. You want fabrics and materials that work well with the heat, and humidity, and sand, and coming in, maybe a little bit sandy from the beach, things like that. U.S. style furniture might not work as well. So most of my clients end up doing Belize furniture. Plus, why ship down $10,000 of U.S. furniture just to pay $5,000 in duty? Now you're up to 15 grand when you could probably get incredible furniture on island for seven, maybe half the price. So that's what I would do. As far as other things like golf carts, you can certainly purchase a golf cart in your up in North America, have it shipped down, and just pay the duty on it. That's not a big deal. But again, in my experience, you can find used golf carts at a reasonable price on island. You don't have to worry about shipping, paying the shipping costs, paying the import tax. Basically, yeah, I think to make a long story short, you can easily move to Belize and not have to pay any stamp duty or income tax or on anything because you just get everything locally. But if you want some of the creature comforts of home, then just plan on paying that 50 to 60% import tax. Did I answer that question, Raul? If I didn't, I'm sorry. Maybe email me later and I can get more specific. Here's a question from, I think it's Linda. Are all houses on septic or sewer? No. In fact, the majority of homes on Ambergris Caye are not on septic or sewer. The only homes that are those immediately in San Pedro. So downtown San Pedro, a little bit going to the south of the island. That is the only place on the island where they have access to city water and city sewer. The majority of the island uses self-contained septic systems, engineered septic systems, everything on the north side. So as soon as you cross the bridge, which separates North and South Ambergris Caye, everything on the north side has engineered individual home septic systems. They work very, very well. And for water, often they use a reverse osmosis system with a shallow well, or they use rainwater. A lot of these places have a rainwater cistern, so when it rains, the cisterns fill up. They just use that. So no. In fact, most homes are off grid. To be honest, some have access to electricity. Of course, most do. I'd say about 85% of the homes on island do have access to city power, but all of them use. Oop, I cut out there. Hang on a second. The majority on the north side of the island use septic. You do not use septic or sewer. It's individualized. All right. Very good. Well, hey guys, I have been going now for about an hour and 10 minutes. I appreciate it. I do see some other questions that you have, but I apologize. I'm gonna end this here. I got a couple other appointments I need to take care of. In fact, I have a closing to attend to today via Skype. So I am going to let you go, but thank you so much for attending. If you have any other questions that I didn't answer, please go ahead and email me at denniskii@gmail.com. And also for those of you who said in that one poll that you would like to chat, go ahead and email me your name, what you're looking for, and maybe we can set up a time to Skype tomorrow or over the next few days. All right, thanks a lot. Again, this has been Dennis Caye. I've had a great time with you guys. I appreciate it, you attending today's webinar and having a sense of awe. Maybe Belize can do that for you guys. I sure hope so. It certainly did it for us. And I hope to see you down in paradise soon. Take care. Cheers.